And I think Kingsley's in the waiting room.
Yeah, is in.
Already? And it's to let everyone come in, and then we'll start the meeting. So you can continue to talk amongst yourselves. You got 2 minutes.
Hi,
Sharon,
good evening.
Sharon Lipton, are you up in Ottawa these days, or where are you located?
Oh, I'm in Stratford, John.
Oh, isn't that nice?
I'm home in Stratford. So there's more snow. Sometimes I'm in the banana belt of all the Great Lakes. So there's probably more snow here than there might be in Ottawa.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well,
It's
London,
Don't want to
stormy.
know anymore.
Yeah, it's stormier here than it was in Ottawa, that's for sure.
Uh-oh.
London's my hometown, so I know about the snow belt down there.
Yeah, yeah. It's colder in Ottawa. I'll grant Ottawa that. But in terms of driving conditions, it's that banana belt of southwestern Ontario takes the cake, I think.
Mhm. Hi, Ivan. Welcome.
Jackie, how you doing? How are you?
Good. Hi, Mina.
Hi.
Hi, Sister Yolanda.
Chris is here. Hi, Chris. Oh, maybe he's on mute.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, good, good, great. Good to have you on the call, Chris.
Thanks.
And
Hi,
for those-
Anita.
Hey.
Hi, Nicole.
Oh, hi, Anita. Hi,
Hi,
Fairma.
everyone.
Hi, Anita. Hi, John.
Hi.
So I just, Jackie, I thought that I would like start the meeting and that my doorbell would ring and dinner would be waiting for me. I thought that was the virtual president's dinner. Did I not get the memo?
We tried that last time with delivery of espresso or cappuccino. I'm still waiting for the pizza here. Nobody's sending it.
No comment.
The machine was coming from you, Daniele.
This is we have to be frugal and all dollars have to go to the community. We can't be dispersing it
Good
to each other.
answer.
It's so
Good
true.
answer.
This is
Daniele.
why 87 cents of every dollar goes to people in need. It can't go to us and pizza delivery.
It's so true. It's so true. So I'm going to, it's 6:03, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to Kenneth for our welcome. Kenneth?
Thank you, Jackie. Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all present, including those joining in and those yet to join us for this year's virtual President's Dinner. Thank you, Jackie, for giving me this opportunity. For those attending this event for the first time, I am Kenneth Gabriel, Executive Director of the Labor Community Services, Peel Region. Thank you for all being here this evening for the good of the Union for Local Love, to raise funds for United Way. This event has been put together by the joint efforts of the Toronto and York and the Peel Regional Labour Councils. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the Labour co-chairs of the United Way 2020 Campaign Cabinet, Cheryl Craig, Govi Suryakumar, and Mike York, for their work leading up to today. I would like to pause here for a moment and seek everyone's attention. It was during the President's breakfast on October the 23rd. I distinctively recall Daniele's narration of his meeting with city officials in the City Hall at Nathan Phillips Square. While on his way, he quite vividly described a vision as he looked up at the semicircular concrete overheads which are over the pond, and the words which echoed, "No looking back, just moving forward." This demonstrates and reaffirms how we should deal with our goals and objectives. Today, as we stand and walk through the second and hopefully the last phase of this pandemic together, regardless of our physical boundaries perpetuated by circumstances, we all stand united. And it is the united way which keeps us all united together in our resolve. No looking back, just moving forward, as Daniele said. With that tone, to further introduce the theme of today, Good of the Union for Local Love, I will hand it over to Cheryl Craig, President of the Peel Regional Labour Council. Cheryl.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. And wonderful messaging to keep us all moving forward on our toes. So our theme for our program this year is Good of the Union for Local Love, sharing our voice with our charity of choice. We will focus on how, as a labor movement, leaders need to come together and support United Way, Greater Toronto, and our communities today, many of which our brothers and sisters live in every day. With COVID-19, our call to action comes with greater sense of urgency, and therefore our time together is now. And the actions we take are critical. So once again, I want to thank you for all choosing to be here tonight and to show your local love for our 2020 United Way campaign. And thanks again. So before we start the program, I would like to take this opportunity to read the land acknowledgement to everyone. We acknowledge the land that we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now how too many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, which is the Mississauga of the Credit.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for that. So my name is Jackie Taylor, and I'm the United Way Labor Liaison. I will be your MC for this evening, and at this time, I'd like to go through some virtual housekeeping. This program is being recorded, and during the meeting, everyone will be put on mute. Speakers will ask to unmute themselves when it is their time to present. During our Q&A session after our speaker series, using the chat, please type in your question and who your question is directed to. If we are not able to address your questions during the allotted time, please email them to info@laborcommunityservices.ca or prlc.ca. And if for any reason we have shut down the program, we apologize and will resume at another date and follow up with an email communication. So now I'd like to take us through our program for this evening. As outlined, we will begin with our history and looking into how the partnership between the United Way and Labor came to be. Followed by our shared vision, we will then watch a short video sharing some voices from the community regarding food insecurity. Our speakers will explore our theme coming from each of their perspectives within the labor and our communities. Our call to action outlining how you can help will be followed by a question and answer session before our meeting is adjourned. So without further delay, I'd like to welcome Sharon Lumpton, National Director of Labor Program and Services at United Way Centraide Canada, who will be taking us through our rich labor history. Sharon?
Thank you so much, Jackie T. It's so wonderful to be here with everybody tonight on this cold, snowy Ontario day. It's really no wonder that labor and community have formed a partnership to work together for everyone, due to the fact that union members live and work and play in our communities. Communal fundraising efforts started around 1917 in Canada when Labor was a founding partner, together with business and the Red Cross. Welfare agencies would individually ask workers to donate to their cause, which led them to the formation of one fundraising umbrella. Many United Ways started out as community chests and then later changed their names to United Way. The first community chest in Canada was in Ottawa in 1931, and a Central Committee of Community Chests and Councils was founded in 1939 and nationalized the community chests. So in Toronto, United Way was incorporated in 1956. And again, Labor was one of the founding partners. And in 1988, the Canadian Labour Congress formalized its partnership with United Way Centraide Canada, with over 40 United Way communities across Canada. Today, about 4 million Canadians belong to unions working in every sector of the economy, using their skills and wisdom to build cities that work and a society that cares. Unions have helped tackle issues of poverty, as we know, through collective bargaining, organizing, and working with decision and policymakers. And as you can see, unions have helped pave the way to get us everything from healthcare benefits, minimum wage, work hours and overtime pay, paid holidays and vacation, workers' health and safety, unemployment insurance, paid maternity leave, while continuing to fight for human rights. As we see on this slide, Labour Community Services was formed to uphold the partnership between United Way Greater Toronto and the Labour Councils of Toronto, York, and Peel. This includes Labour staff, program services, campaign support, United Way volunteers, and education and training programs, such as the Labour Community Advocate Training Program, where union members become equipped to refer workers in need to appropriate services in the community. We have been at the forefront of all of these fights and continue to tackle issues of poverty.
Thank you, Sharon. And as Sharon has shared, we've come a long way, but there's still a lot of work to be done. But it's reassuring to see our history and to know that we've come this far by working together. Next, I'd like to talk about our shared vision. You know, when we think about why we are here today, it's easy to point out the many reasons why it's essential for us to come together to support our communities. We see and connect with our members every day, whether socially distanced or online. We hear their stories and how challenging a time this has especially been. The term good of the union has been used within labor as a call for unions to come together to help support a cause or someone in need. Our theme is not just a term, but an action with real consequences. And our partnership shared vision is to address systematic issues and end the effects of poverty. The next video we are going to share comes from voices of the community in regards to food insecurity. And it resonates with us because not only is it one of our unignorable circumstances of poverty, but a reflection of some of the struggles our sisters and brothers are facing. Rochelle, can I have you play the video?
I didn't understand why our family was as poor as we were and as hungry as we were at times. Hi, I'm Paul Taylor and I'm the Executive Director of Food Share Toronto, an organization that works alongside communities across the city to build local food infrastructure.
The City of Toronto states that food insecurity is the inadequate access to food due to financial constraints. But it's also important to recognize that food insecurity is not just a food access issue because it's tightly linked to poverty. Food insecure households are often forced to put their food budgets towards other pressing expenses, such as rent, transportation, and childcare.
What we see is people compromising the food that they would want to eat as a result of having to make those difficult choices. And more often than not, we see parents compromising what they're eating so that their kids can eat.
United Way invests over $6 million in a range of programs and services that support people who are experiencing food insecurity. The programs that we fund go beyond immediate hunger relief and focus on enabling and engaging community and residents towards ensuring long-term household food security.
So one of the things we do that we're really excited about at FoodShare is we work with communities that are struggling with access to food to identify places that can be used for growing food, and then for those communities to be actively involved in kind of leading the response to food insecurity in their community. It's support from the United Way that allows us to animate all of our programs. The United Way is actually willing to invest in building our capacity. So investing in a whole bunch of initiatives, whether it's training, whether it's just supporting us and asking us what we need and helping us build the capacity to do the work that we're doing in communities, I think is really important.
Donations are crucial in the face of COVID-19 because our community partners need flexible funding. This flexibility helps to sustain their programs and efforts in a way that best suit the ever-changing needs we're facing today.
As a result of COVID-19, we've had to really pivot in interesting ways. We've done a few things. We've been able to provide over 700,000 pounds of fresh produce to folks who were struggling with access to food. Donations to the United Way and in turn supporting organizations like FoodShare is critical. We have got major issues that we are collectively working on addressing. And we can't do any of that work without your support and a strong social service sector ready, equipped, and armed to be able to support the growing number of folks who are finding themselves navigating really difficult times.
This video is a reminder of how impactful our support can be, and that it is critical that we continuously take action to make issues of poverty unignorable. For our speaker series, I would like to welcome John Cartwright, Daniele Zanotti, Mina Artmouth, and Larry Russo, leaders within the labor movement, I say trailblazers, and leaders within the labor movement and in our communities, addressing our theme from their unique perspectives. It is important to see how, despite our varying standpoints and experiences, when we come together, we are connected, and the power of that collective can make for an impactful change. For our speakers, please unmute yourselves. And when it is your time to present, I would now like to welcome our first speaker, John Cartwright, President of the Toronto and York Region Labor Council. Welcome, John.
Thanks, Jackie. Good evening, sisters, brothers, friends. It's great to meet you all this evening. We had a breakfast about a week and a half ago with a number of other labor leaders, but I'm really pleased to see the people in attendance tonight. As you know, Sharon and others have said, the United Way is our charity of choice of the labor movement. We were a founder of the United Way in Toronto back in the 1950s. And you know, it goes back to our very roots. Next year, the Toronto and York Region Labor Council celebrates 150 years since our founding, 1871. And in 1871, there were no laws that protected workers' rights to organize. In fact, quite the opposite. There were laws that prohibited workers from organizing. But long before we had the legal right to bargain collective agreements and sign terms and conditions, unions helped to uphold standards of work, and they also help support each other in a time of need. And many unions, before they had a collective agreement, had a fund, a good and welfare fund, that everybody contributed into each week. And if somebody fell on hard times, if they were laid off, if they were hurt at work, or even if they passed away and needed money for the funeral, that's where that fund went. And, you know, when we talk about the password of the labor movement, which is solidarity, I often say solidarity actually is about generosity. It's about people giving of their time and their resources and their own skills to help others get through a journey that's necessary. And that really has been our process of the United Way these last number of years. The money that's raised in our workplaces goes to help amazing community social services that serve every one of our communities. It's a long time ago that most community agencies in the GTA were in downtown Toronto, serving people in downtown Toronto. We've expanded dramatically across the inner suburbs, up through York Region, through Peel and elsewhere, making sure that vulnerable communities are being assisted, that young people are being shown a decent path in life, and that seniors have a network that they can connect with in their old age. I want to thank every leader that's on this call. I want to thank all of your unions for doing workplace campaigns, because these are crucial. This is how we raise that money to show our generosity and our solidarity with each other. I want to thank Daniele Zanotti for being on this call tonight with Labor, as he was on the breakfast before. He's somebody who has an amazing amount of call on his time, but because of his longstanding partnership with the labor movement that goes back even before he came with United Way of Greater Toronto, he's here and he's giving of his time as well. So I just want to applaud everybody for being here tonight. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your generosity. Let's make this a great campaign. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, John. And I agree wholeheartedly with you. Let's make this a great 2020 United Way campaign in partnership with Labor. Next, we have Daniele Zanotti, President and CEO of United Way Greater Toronto.
Thank you, my friend. What a nice picture. I'm wearing a blazer, you see? So thankful to be with you all on this virtual President's Dinner with our virtual pizzas in front of us. I got mine, it just arrived virtually. With my colleagues, I think I see Anita Stalinga and Nicole Smith joining as well. And with so many of you, brothers and sisters, family, all, or better, I guess, as Sharon and John reminded us, given that you helped found us, I guess you're kind of like our parents, parents of United Way in so many ways. My board bosses, Capo, Cartwright, Cheryl, Mohammed, thank you for all the time you put in on our board of trustees as well. And so many of you who have joined, whether you're cabinet volunteers, helping to run campaigns, donors, volunteers, all of you. But all jokes and fun aside, you are our people. And it's great to be with you, because every year you join us in giving hope to thousands across the GTA. And this year, you're pushing us, standing with us to go even further. I was on another one of these Zoom calls a few weeks ago. I think it was like the 20th that morning, or at least it felt like the 20th that morning. And this one was a panel on the path forward in social services. There was a United Way funded street outreach worker, and her first line was, she finds hope in the porta potties. She finds hope in the porta potties. I stopped multitasking, all the emails, the texts. I put my big forehead in my hands, leaned in and listened. She finds hope in the porta potties. She was the first to rush into that potty when we set it up, said she hadn't closed a door to a bathroom since COVID hit. She finds hope in her tent in the southeast corner in the parquet at Isabella and Young, even if it's too tight and her hubby's feet stick out when they zip up the door at night. She finds hope in the hand washing station, first in the morning and last at night, to scrub, says if 7 years of living on our city streets haven't killed her, COVID ain't gonna kill her either. She finds hope in these new places. Thanks to you, each and every one of you. When COVID hit, United Way found hope too. We found hope by providing flexible funding to our network of 280 agencies so they could do what they do best: meet urgent needs, shifting from delivering seniors congregate dining to preparing thousands of meals and delivering them to isolated seniors, or shifting from face-to-face counseling with at-risk youth to providing online counseling in partnership with a local hospital so that a suicidal kid could get access to a psychiatrist in minutes. Thanks to you, when COVID hit, we found hope by leveraging emergency funds, our own local love funding, and then in partnership with the federal government, dispersing $15 million in emergency funding in the GTA alone. That funding to 450 hyper-local programs from Peel to Georgina in York Region, all the way down to South Etobicoke in Toronto. 90% of that funding going to equity-seeking groups, Black, Indigenous, LGBTQ2S, people with disabilities, and 60% of that emergency funding going to agencies big and small who had never received United Way funding before. And thanks to you, when COVID hit, United Way found hope in new partnerships with the City of Toronto, the Region of York, and the Region of Peel. We signed formal memorandums of understanding and stuck ourselves right in the middle of their COVID emergency response centers and the community. And every day, we virtually convened 500 plus agencies in neighborhoods across the GTA to look up from their program, from the people they were serving, and try to find system solutions. We opened up transitional shelters so moms and their kids trying to flee abuse could self-isolate before going into our shelter system. We converted libraries, community centers, closed factories into massive food distribution centers because our food banks could not safely social isolate anymore. We partnered with public health and the province to conduct community COVID pop-up testing in GTA COVID hotspots like North Etobicoke, Brampton, and parts of Scarborough, in places that people knew, like United Way agencies, and at times when they were in between their two jobs, like between 5 and midnight each night. And we worked with a local developer to convert 2 vacant buildings into 200 permanent affordable housing units. So last week, she found hope in a key to one of those units, her and her hubby's new apartment. And when she opened the door for the first time, she fell and kissed the floor. She gave thanks to the key, the door, the floor, the bed, the cushions, the bathtub, said she hadn't had a bath in 7 years. She finds hope because of our partnership. Because since 1956, when you founded us, every year you volunteer with us on our board and our cabinet. Every year, brothers and sisters in workplaces across the GTA give $1 or 100 or $1,000 from their hard-earned pay, so this place we love is a little bit better for all of us. And this year, when the GTA needs us more than ever, we are acting on immediate and urgent needs, and we have the courage, conviction, commitment, and patience to push and prod on the systemic root causes too. This year, we need together as family to not only deal with the immediate, but to remind each other, to remind government, to remind donors that we're not going to social service, charity, or fundraise our way out of this. We've got to build more affordable housing, childcare, good jobs for all. Everything that you've been talking about for decades must be our path forward in social services. And I'm so glad to be able to start that conversation with you, each and every one of you. Thanks. I got to get back to my pizza. It's getting cold.
Thank you, Daniele. That was a really inspirational message there. So thank you for that. We're going to move on to our next speaker, Mina Amrith, Vice President of SEIU Healthcare. Go ahead, Mina.
Thank you, Jackie, and good evening, brothers and sisters. I want to start by thanking the United Way Greater Toronto for inviting me to speak this evening. It's truly an honor to be involved and support the amazing and important work that you all do. SEIU Healthcare has been a proud supporter of the United Way for over 20 years through volunteering and member and staff donations. We are committed to this partnership because we know that so many of our members, the majority of whom are racialized women, rely on services the United Way provides on a daily basis. Unfortunately, that reliance has become even greater during the COVID-19 pandemic. Every single day, I hear from another healthcare worker whose life has been turned upside down during this unprecedented times. We've seen our members struggle mentally as they are forced to live away from their spouses and children in fear that they will bring the disease home to them. Addiction issues spiked as people were forced into isolations. We know there are many in quarantine stuck at home with abusive partners. Families are being pushed into poverty, relying on services like food banks because their hours have been cut. They've been forced off work, or they've been limited to work only one job when they typically work 1, 2 to 3 to make ends meet. We've even had members forced out of shelter homes because they work in the healthcare system and could potentially become infected. It has truly broken my heart to see our system, led by the government and for-profit healthcare employers, has caused frontline workers who this province has relied on so much over the past 8 months, so much devastation during this pandemic. But with that heartbreak comes anger, and SEIU Healthcare's commitment to fight back and do everything we can to lift up these workers who so badly need our help. It's in these situations and countless others that make the United Way so important. Without programs they offer, so many wouldn't get the help they need. Whether it's a safe place to stay, a meal on the table, or someone to talk to, the United Way is there to make a real difference in so many lives. And I want to thank everyone involved for the work that you do. On behalf of SEIU Healthcare and all of our frontline healthcare members, I also want to thank you, everyone here today, for your continued support of the United Way. I encourage you to keep it up. Every dollar you donated and every minute volunteered makes a difference. Thank you again for this opportunity. SEIU Healthcare is committed to supporting the United Way, and we look forward to another 20 years of our important partnership, working together to help those who need it the most. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mina. Thank you for that speech. And our last presentation will be from Larry Russo, Executive Vice President of the Canadian Labour of Congress. Due to unforeseen circumstances, Larry is not able to be with us tonight, but we will listen to his speech and his presentation, which I know that you're going to find enlightening. Go ahead, Michelle.
Our next speaker is Larry Russo, and Larry is the Executive Vice President of the Canadian Labour Congress. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you very much, Marcia, and thank you all the leaders of the United Way of Greater Toronto, doing so much great and wonderful work in the Peel, Toronto, and York regions. Without you, what would we do? We really must look back, especially on the 7 past months of this pandemic, which has exposed how our social safety net was rendered and was full of holes and people falling through the cracks. And it just brought right to the fore the important work, especially that the United Way is doing right across the country. As a member of the National Board of the United Way, I am especially pleased to have been invited here to speak to you today. And as the Executive Vice President for the CLC and speaking on behalf of the labor movement, I salute all of you. Of course, the big news over the past couple of weeks certainly was that we had the 211 service expanded across the country. So very much needed, especially as so many people are now spending so much more time indoors in their homes, and that also is presenting great challenges to many of our frontline services. So at least that connection with the outside world, that connection that if you need help, you can call 211 and have access in that way to services. So this is good news. On Labor Day, the CLC and Canada's unions, we launched our Forward Together Canadian Plan campaign. It is the most ambitious campaign that we have launched to date. And the campaign is putting a lot of emphasis on 3 pivotal issues and planks that we will be working on in the coming months. Governments have to replace jobs that have been lost with better ones by making new investments in infrastructure, in public services, in safe workplaces, domestic procurement and manufacturing, a green economy, and the care economy. And I'll say a little bit more about that. Governments have to address the shortfalls in healthcare by making new investments that bring long-term care and prescription drugs into our universal public healthcare system. We have to expand access to mental health services, and we have to strengthen our ability to respond to the next public health crisis. And for the past 50 years, the scientists have been telling us that the pandemic was imminent, it was going to happen. Here it is, and now we fear that one will follow the next. So we must be prepared, and our social safety net has to be completely overhauled to make sure that no one is falling through the cracks. And of course, governments have to disaster-proof the social safety net by overhauling the employment insurance program and making new investments in childcare, retirement security, affordable housing, education, and skills training. Now, that is our campaign. So when we heard the throne speech that was delivered a few weeks ago, we were very happy to see that at least what has been mentioned is that there will be new national standards for long-term care. We know that is not enough. We know that we have to bring long-term care under the Health Act, and we will be working for that. Personal support workers, there will be additional support that was announced. Pharmacare, we know that we are now looking at a national universal pharmacare program. What we want to hear, of course, is that it will be a single payer national universal pharmacare program. We are also looking at a commitment to see more good jobs, 1 million more jobs, including investments in social and physical infrastructure, training supports for upskilling and hiring. There is a gendered impact of the pandemic, and we have seen that so many of the frontline workers, especially in care, are women and women of color. So we are very happy to see that there will be an action plan for women in the economy. Of course, we will want to see the details of that action plan. The Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy is extended into next year. We know that the CERB is being incorporated into the employment insurance program. So this is good news. Training, we have seen a promise to have the largest training investment in Canadian history and expanded youth employment and skills strategy. And this is so important in our neighborhoods and our communities, that young folks will be able to see more investments in their future. This is very, very important. We are also going to see elimination of interprovincial trade barriers. That is a huge file. It's not going to be easy, but we know that we have to look at full and fair compensation to supply managed industries. Childcare, if anything came to the fore and is currently at the fore as we are entering the second wave of this pandemic, it is that how important it is for parents everywhere to be able to depend on good Canada-wide, across the country, early learning and childcare systems based on lessons that we have seen in Quebec. Let's do that nationally, and let's make sure that it gets implemented as quickly as possible. Income supports through EI, absolutely, and fair taxation. So what does that mean? How do we go from the throne speech into making sure that this gets included in legislation? Well, the legislative priorities for the CLC and what we will be lobbying for in the first week of November, we have over 500 activists who have now registered to lobby the government on pharmacare, as I mentioned, on childcare, on long-term care, on workers' compensation, to ensure that we have presumptive coverage for COVID-19 exposure, extremely important, that we get infrastructure investments, and that we have decent standards for federal projects. And we need solid protections for labor and health and safety rights at work. We need green economy investments, and we need that $15 federal minimum wage, which is going to happen. We need national employment standards to make sure that we have living minimum wages, because we know that there are areas of the country where $15 is just not going to cut it. We need national employment standards. And we also need to make sure that we have a comprehensive and participatory review. That means participation from the union side as well as the management side in the reform of the EI program. It has to be much more accessible, and not only during the COVID crisis. So I'm very happy to say as well that a couple of weeks ago, the Canadian Council met, and the Canadian Council unanimously passed the most sweeping anti-racism statement that the CLC has put out to date. A lot of good work was done, not only by CLC staff, but by leadership of unions across the board. So this is extremely important, and I'm very proud that we have this statement. And if you haven't seen the statement, I will make sure that Jackie and Marcia get the copy of the statement that can be shared with all of you. It's very important because we have seen since the murder of George Floyd on May 25th, that the work as far as anti-racism and discrimination and human rights is concerned, that work is now going into higher gear. And I can no longer count the number of panels and webinars that I have been involved in talking about how this pandemic has brought to the fore the major problems that we are going to be facing in terms of discrimination, in terms of intolerance, in terms of xenophobia, and etc. in our society. It's not just in the United States, it is here, it is present, and we are seeing it every single day. So I just want to end by thanking all of you again for the great work. It has been a partnership between the CLC and the United Way, which is now 32 years in going. We do have challenges. We will always have challenges, but that is what we rise up to meet and face the challenges that we will not only confront, but in the true spirit of trade unionism, that we will resolve going forward to make sure that in 32 years, we are still celebrating the great partnership between labor and between the United Way. Thank you again for having me. And I look forward to the continuing work that all of you are doing, not only in the United Way of Greater Ontario, but that the United Way is doing across the country. And thank you again.
I just wanted to say, thank you, Brother Larry. You're not here with us in the physical, but that message speaks volumes. And yes, we have a lot of work to do, but together we stand, because divided we'll fall. So that's going to conclude our speaker series portion of the program. I wanted to say a special thank you to all of our speakers for sharing their stories, their perspectives, which leads us to our important call to action. Our call to action isn't new. Since our partnership was formed, we've been rooted from the idea of wanting to help make people's lives better and be there for one another. We are here today doing exactly what our sisters and brothers in the beginning, and it is amazing to see how far we've come. Continuing to support one another during this time virtually. When you donate to United Way, it supports 280 community agencies, helping hundreds of thousands of people with much needed support. Our communities can't recover without you, and you can help in 3 ways. As Labor's charity of choice, number 1, we ask that you donate online or by mail. 2, you can start a joint workplace campaign involving union members and management. And 3, share your voice and engage in the conversation on Twitter. Thanks to your support, the United Way's network of agencies is there 365 days a year for some, during times of crisis and in months and years that follow. We will now open the chat for some questions in the chat box. Please feel free to ask your questions along with who you are addressing your question to. If we are not able to get to your question at this time, you can email them to info@laborcommunityservices.ca for Toronto York Region, and inquiries to info@prlc.ca for the Peel Region inquiries. We have Marcia and Olivia who's monitoring our chat as you raise them. So any questions or concerns that you may have, please drop them in the chat and we can start the ball rolling by addressing any questions you may have. So we have a question about the Twitter handle for United Way GTA. We'll get that for you, Cindy, absolutely. Perfect. So we'll get that to you, Cindy, no problem. Were there any other questions that you had for ourselves or our panelists?
It's John Cartwright. You know, while we're waiting for people to maybe ask questions, or maybe they've had such great a banquet of ideas that they just want to digest. I just want to note the last point that Larry Russo mentioned in his presentation was the role of labor in challenging systemic racism and the need for every organization to step up and speak about the reality of anti-Black racism, of systemic racism. Under Daniela's leadership, the United Way has also decided that that's an appropriate space for United Way to be very explicitly, not just in terms of the staff at United Way, but also in conversation with the different agencies and with decision makers. And I see Chris Campbell from the Carpenters is on the line as well. Chris has been one of the key voices right now dealing with the terrible hate crimes in the construction industry, the nooses that are being found on job sites. And he's been in the media constantly. He's been dealing with community folks around that issue. And he also has just been named as his position has been confirmed, not just as a rep with the Carpenters Union in Toronto, but actually across Ontario as the lead on equity and diversity for the entire province. And that reflects the great work he's done reaching into communities, particularly our Black Youth Next Gen project, and opening the door for dozens and dozens and dozens of young men and women to come into the construction trades and earn a good union job. So I want to just thank Chris for that, for his leadership. Also, you know, for the United Way to, you know, step up and start to really do the work that's necessary to make this a much better Canada. Thanks.
Thank you for that, John.
Jackie, we do have another question. And the question is, can our contributions go to a specific organization, or does it have to go in a general fund?
So who would like to take that question?
Daniela.
Happy to jump in. So yes, it can, your donation can go to a specific United Way funded agency. But as we discussed earlier, the power of the network of agencies is really demonstrating itself, especially around COVID. And so our preference, our name, and the way we operate is a United Way. And it is to invest your donation in the network of agencies right across the GTA, because you're getting a lot more bang for that buck. You're getting a lot more impact for that. And we've seen, just as a final comment, we've seen how interconnected these issues are. That traditionally, when a mom and her child show up at a food bank, they often also need other wraparound supports from other parts of our network, whether that's employment supports or mental health supports or access to affordable housing. And so, short, you can direct, should you choose. Hope is that you commit to a United Way and the network of agencies that we've partnered on for decades.
That's great. Thank you, Daniele. Are there any other questions? This is your time to ask the questions that's been burning.
Okay, yes, we have a question here. What challenges is the campaign facing due to COVID?
Thank you. Well, I can jump in on that, and I know Cheryl and Jackie and Marcia are all involved in this, so can echo. So the big first one is, you know, campaigning via virtual is different for United Way. Traditionally at this time, we're on the factory floor, we're at the TTC, we're in a workplace face to face with dunk tanks or selling burnt hamburgers or encouraging people to do payroll deduction. And now we're all on these Zoom calls. So that's fundamentally different. We get about $12 million from events that happen physically in those workplaces. So that's harder to raise. We're also super, super sensitive that in addition to the health impact COVID has and the social service impact it's had, it also is freaking a lot of workers out. What is my own financial situation going to look like? Is my partner going to have a job? Am I going to have a job? And so that's another reality on the campaign trail. All of those aside, we're seeing great signals of hope. I mean, people that are giving. We had a gentleman whose restaurant was shuttered as a result of COVID, a restaurant that he and his family had passed on for 3 generations in Toronto, closed down. And he sent us a check for $200 saying, please make sure my neighbors get the help they need. We've got campaigns like WSIB, who's set a goal of 250,000, and then their workers came in and raised $350,000, saw employee participation grow like they had never seen. And people said, I'm okay, I have a job. And the money I was gonna buy for like my Tim Hortons, I'm gonna give it to United Way. So we're seeing great hope, but there's also some real risks.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Daniele. Are there any other questions?
I got one question. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Daniele, I think we've met a few times, and I'm Chris Campbell, representative, it's a executive diversity representative of equity diversity representative of the Carpenters Union, or the Carpenters District Council of Ontario. It's my first time using the title, so I'm trying to get it right here. But my request or my ask is a little bit self-serving. Where, okay, so I've been doing a little bit of work in the community, helping youths and helping them, directing them as to how to get in the trades. I'm aware that the United Way partly funds the Toronto community benefits, yes, and I just want to encourage you or push you a little bit to continue the funding, and if it can be increased a little bit, because they're doing such a good job reaching young men and women of the various urban niches of Toronto. So Daniele, please, if there is a chance for you to increase or direct some more funding to them, I would very much appreciate that, Daniel.
We hear you, Chris. We want to stabilize it. We want to try and grow it. Not only the Toronto Community Benefits Network, but we've got an active Peel Community Benefits Network that we're also working on as the Hurontario LRT rolls out. And we're seeing the huge potential there. So we hear you, and we'd love to reach out to you in your new role as well, especially given some of our work in the Black community and our advisory council in Peel and some of the other advisories that we've got reaching out to cultural groups. I think there could be some good partnership there.
Thanks. I'm willing to help in whichever way, and helping you to network and connect, because that's one of my passions. So, just reach out, ccampbell@thecarpentersunion.ca, and I'll be ready and willing at any time to help you make a difference in that sector. Okay, Daniel?
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
And I just wanted to say formal congratulations to Chris. I know that he introduced himself, but I don't think that was due justice. I want, and I'd like for everyone to congratulate Chris as being the new Equity Diversity Representative of the Carpenters District Council of Ontario. And that's huge and that's big. So congratulations, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I got to get used to this title thing. I'm just used to the business representative, but thank you, Jackie. Thank you all.
Well, this is huge. This is huge. And congratulations, brother. You deserve it. So with further ado, I'd just like to ask if there were any other questions. Marcia, how are we doing in the chat? No further questions. So I'm just going to go ahead.
No further questions. Sorry, Jackie, I was on mute and then I mute myself. Anyway, no, the chat is going well. Everybody's got their questions answered.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you so much. So that concludes our program for this evening. I want to thank everyone that took the time out to attend our 2020 United Way Labor President's Dinner, virtual dinner. It means so much to us. We have so much work ahead of us. And without your contributions, we would not be able to do the great work that we do. And anybody that knows me knows that every presentation that I've ever given, I've always said, those dollars go into the 280 plus agencies in the community that are on the ground, that are doing the work, and the programs that United Way invest in. So I just want to say a special thank you. We're hoping, and I mean, you know, the ask is that, you know, you go back to your prospective unions, your prospective workplaces, you run those campaigns, and for our presidents here on this Zoom call, that you consider giving a contribution this year for the United Way so that we can help the community, because what we have in common, what labor has in common is that we believe in, you know, strong, healthy communities, vibrant communities, and helping, you know, our kids be the best that they can be. And, you know, that's what we believe in. And we want to make sure that that happens, that those places that we work and live in, those places are places that we enjoy working and living in, because we're doing what we can to make them vibrant. So we can follow up with an email with details on how you can donate, and look forward to working with you. Have a good evening, everyone, and thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Ciao.
Night all.
Bye, everybody. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Bye.
So much.
Bye.
Best. Stay safe.
Stay safe,
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Enjoy your virtual dinner. Thanks, Kenneth. Thanks, Cheryl.
Thanks so much, Jackie, everyone. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you. Thanks, Cheryl.
Great job.
Hi, Faduma.
Is everybody gone now?
Yeah, I think so.
Not yet. Yeah.
How many we have still? It's still recording, Rochelle.